So it's been nearly 2 months now since I moved into the brand new unit down here in South Wales. And there hasn't been a single moment for me to stop and catch my breath, I have to admit. However, I'm excited to say that the foundations are now up. They're up, people! They're up! So today marks the start of the second week in my brand new workshop unit for the Playce production. And it's been really exciting, but it's also been quite daunting as well. You know, it didn't help that the project didn't start off too smoothly a couple of months ago, back before Christmas. I found out I needed to find a new workspace to work on the production of the Playce after work had begun on production of the Playce. Yeah, December and January is a really sucky time to try and sort out a new tenancy agreement, and dealing with solicitors and landlords and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. Turns out the world just stops over the holidays. But we got there in the end, and I've been in the workspace for over a week now, so I've already moved in the workbenches and the tools and other useful materials to help me with the production, and I've quickly moved on to some pretty crucial prep work that I need to get through quite quickly, which has been primarily focused on me sourcing enough waste cardboard for me to get started on construction of the Playce. And that's what I'm doing right now. You could say that this is my new paper round. Driving around a few of my regular stops to collect some cardboard. Thankfully, however, it's not exactly been hard to come by. Each year, the UK produces approximately 5.4 million tonnes of paper and cardboard waste, with around 4 million tonnes being recycled. That means about 73.4% of our cardboard waste gets a second life through recycling efforts. And with the Playce, I'm trying to be part of that second life story, rescuing cardboard waste and transforming it into something entirely different. It's a small act on my part, but one that aligns with a much bigger picture, showing that waste materials have purpose and value, even within large-scale, high-quality productions. Hiya guys, it's me again. Am I okay to grab some waste cardboard? All the cardboard at the back there? Oh. Glad you turned up. The other raw material I've been sourcing as part of this prep work is inner core tubes. Used to ship and store large lengths of carpet, these tubes are fantastically strong with an incredible compressive strength. Because of this, they will lend themselves really well as weighty structural supports and any cylindrical columns featured in the overall structure of the Playce. Once those were gathered, it was time to process and prep all of the cardboard, which meant peeling off a lot of labels and sellotape from everything that was gathered so far. And bloody hell, was this a rotten job. By the end of this, despite proudly already having guitar and bass player calluses on my hands, this process still had me looking like this. And the injuries didn't stop there. All this led me to realise that this was going to be one of the most essential bits of kits down here in my workshop. But it was all worth it. So after a heck of a lot of cardboard collecting and sorting and processing, I've actually ended up with a pretty healthy pile of cardboard to get started with. And believe it or not, there's actually just over 1 ton of cardboard sat over there. Yeah, 1 ton. Well, more than 1 ton. Collectively, this stuff's heavier than my car. Nonetheless, it's actually been really hard trying to gauge just how much of this stuff I'm gonna need. I may very well have to collect more later down the line. But once I've begun to build the initial volumetric footprint of the Playce here in the workshop, I should have a better idea of how far this supply is going to carry me through the production. So for right now, the cardboard hunt is officially on hold. And although that's probably felt quite quick, to you, the viewer, thanks to the magic of video editing, this monstrous pile of cardboard has actually taken me several weeks to get together. So it really is time for me to move on from this prep work and finally start building, because there is a lot to get done. So tomorrow, it begins. The very next day, the first thing I wanted to build was actually some kind of foundational support system that would help me deal with any high-rise sections of the Playce. Previously, any models in the Playces series were built up to 1, maybe 1.5 meters tall at most. These were self-supporting structures made entirely from cardboard and hot glue, and at those heights they held up for years and still hold up without any structural issues whatsoever. But some parts of the Playce will reach over 2.5 meters in height. And while early structural tests suggest that that's not really going to be a problem... Wow, yeah, okay. That seems to be doing pretty good. I wasn't expecting that. I'd much rather have a support system in place from the very beginning. Something that can provide me with a few anchor point contingencies. You know, just in case. And clearly I was still in a scavenger mindset while working on this, as I actually went about this task fairly resourcefully. Using some chipboard offcuts, a few lengths of timber joist taken from the local hardware store's offcuts bin, and some UPVC pipe. I ended up building these trees. Posts with weighted bases that taller sections of the Playce can be positioned over for some extra support. So now that I've got these sorted, I think that any high-rise section of the Playce is going to do just fine. I'll actually use a couple of these trees in a few key areas of the Playce, especially where things become more densely populated with structures. But yeah, now that I have this foundational support system in place, I can definitely get on with the bulk of the initial cardboard construction. So you know what that means. It's time for another build montage. I hope you're not getting sick of these, because I have a feeling there's going to be quite a few of these in this video series. Hey, come on, it's a big maker production. How could there not be, right? Roll it. Okay, so I'm going to just take a moment to interrupt our build montage, just to give you guys a quick update on a small exploration I had to make this afternoon, almost as a slight detour, really. So, as you've been seeing on your screens, the last few days I have been building out the volumetric footprint of the left-hand side of the Playce, which you can see here. However, as I've been working through this process, I've been pausing and pondering and sort of second guessing any decisions I make about what to put where. And it's just taken me much longer than I thought it was going to take. I mean, it's been quick so far, definitely, but it's just taken me much longer than I thought it would. And I think the thing I've been struggling with is that each of these blocks here, in my head currently, feel like distinct buildings in the Playce, and that is not what these are. So, for example, we've got this high-rise section here, which goes up nearly 3 meters, and it kind of looks like a skyscraper, And then we've got this block here that looks like it could be some kind of house or building, and another one here on the support tree that looks like it could be some kind of house or, dwelling. And that carries on throughout the rest of the footprint here on the left-hand side of the Playce. Now, at the moment, because there's no other point of reference in the room on this model, I'm struggling to get a true sense of the actual scale of the world of the Playce. So what I mean by that is, for example, those of you who have seen the windmill, a door and a window in the windmill is exactly the same size as a door and a window in the Playce. So even having built that before, I still couldn't picture this in my mind's eye while building these bigger blocks out. And they keep coming out to me like they're buildings, and it just kind of is suddenly changing the scale of this build, and it makes it look like there's 7 or 8 buildings in the Playce, and that's not true. There's going to be probably close to 100 different buildings in this area here. I don't know, but that's exactly what I'm kind of struggling with. So I took some time out this afternoon to stop building out the volumetric footprint of the work and actually started to add some at-scale details, much more illustrative details that represent the true scale of the world of the Playce. So here, if I just pull back again, you see we've got this seawall / dam style structure that comes out here to this column. And that column extends up, and on top of it, we have this wind turbine. And yeah, as you can see, I've added some brickwork and some corrugation and some sidewalls on the pathway here on the dam, or seawall, whatever we want to call that. And if we follow that pathway across, you'll see there's a doorway here that takes you up to this doorway here. And that serves as a kind of maintenance access to this wind turbine here. And I've added this banister in as well, just to, you know, give you a sense of scale of this world. And there's my hand. And these doors are kind of standard size doors. So it's like your average 2-meter high doorway that you'd find in any typical house or building. And now that that's in place, if I pull out and you keep your eye on that door, you start to get a proper sense of just how big this world really is. So suddenly, those blocks over there, I can now start to visualize those much more as general canvases to build lots of buildings off of, and staircases and pathways and lots of windows. So, you know, instead of this block here being a house with like a door and 2 windows, that's probably more like a 4-story, 5-story section that I can build multiple sort of dwellings off of. Likewise with the high rises and even the lower sections down there as well. So with that reference point there tucked away in the corner of the room, I'm finding it much easier now to kind of visualize how I can finish building out this volumetric footprint. So as I glance across the room, I can make quicker decisions about whether this needs to be a recess or a flat platform or a column or a, you know, asymmetrical shape or a block or a flat surface or a ledge, and so on and so on. Because I'm able to stand back, glance across the room, and just get that sense of just what the true scale of the place actually is. And I think that's going to speed me up now over the next week or so, which is a good thing because I need to get through this job very quickly. In fact, there's a whole other side of the room to build out. So, on that note, let's get back to the video montage. And just like that, the foundations of the place were finally up. What a journey this has been so far. This first stint in the production has been a physically demanding one. This isn't how my projects usually go down, you know? I mean, sure, I've moved gear and rigs around for all kinds of music and sound experiences, but this this has just been on a whole other level. And although it's not pretty yet, there's still some serious effort that's already gone into this thing so far. So I just thought I'd take some time at the end of this episode to reflect on that. Especially as right now, I need to catch my breath. I need a bit of a breather. Where do I start? Well, firstly, the gluing. At this scale, the gluing, it kind of felt like welding. I've been building structures here that are 1, 2, and 3 meters tall or long or wide. You know, there's some serious surface area here. And within that, there are single beads of hot glue that took literally hours to lay down. And that's just for one continuous bead on, say, you know, a cardboard support post, for example. And all in all, I've worked my way through 12 kilograms of hot glue sticks to build the foundations here. That is about 220 of these. So actually, because of this, I just want to take a moment to work out some fun, quick maths, because I'm curious. So I know that each of these sticks are 29 centimeters long. Each of these glue sticks allow me to lay down, on the conservative side, I would say 5 times the length of the stick in hot glue beads when I'm gluing pieces together. So what's that? That would be 29 centimeters times 5, let's say 30, 150 minus 5. That's 145 centimeters. That's 145 centimeters of glue beading I can get out of one of these sticks. So if I times 145 by 145 centimeters by 220. So based on that maths, that means I've put down around 319 meters of hot glue in order to get the foundations built here. No way. Wow. No way. I've just had a little look to see what things are 319 meters big. And get this. So if I lined up all of these hot glue seams in a straight line, and I started at the ground and extended up into the sky, then the amount of glue I have laid down so far would stretch taller than the Shard in London. That has genuinely blown my mind. Yeah, and my arms for that matter, because that has been a really grueling process, having to manually place all of that hot glue down to build this. Okay, so there's also the way that I've been working with the cardboard so far on this project. It's so much different to how I built the original Playce structures. Because of their much smaller size, I just improvised what I wanted to build with those and slowly worked my way up. So there was never really a foundation to build for those in the same way that there needed to be here for the Playce. And because of that, the raw cardboard was prepped in a drastically different way in order to support the beginning of this build. So in order to go from the UPVC support trees to the initial foundational cardboard structures you see here, I firstly prepped some robust, heavy-duty cardboard panels that were made of 4 or 5 layers of corrugated cardboard. And this stuff is, it's like working with plywood. Ooh, it really is, ow. I mean, as you will have seen in this episode, I literally took my jigsaw to a lot of these panels in order to cut them down to size, simply because they are literally that thick and strong and robust as a building material. Anyone watching this episode right now who's musing with the idea of building something fairly substantial from cardboard, then I cannot recommend this approach enough. And to make these, I ended up prepping a 50-50 mixture of wallpaper paste and PVA glue, which I would then use to stick each layer together in order to laminate this block. And honestly, it's really, really robust stuff. So yeah, big fan of this stuff, definitely. What else is there to update you on? Oh, yes. So the other thing worth mentioning is that since the previous episode, due to unexpected circumstances, I am now working in a completely different space to the one I was expecting to be working in for this production, which has meant that I've had to adjust the floor plan layout that I established in the previous episode. Instead of the full 10 meters length for the Playce, I'm now working closer to a length of 7 meters, leaving the width and the height completely unchanged from the original plan. And that's simply because there's no more room for me to work with in that length in this specific workshop. But you know what? That might not be a bad thing, because I'm starting to realize that even at this size, this is going to be a seriously monstrous build to see through to completion. And the next phase of construction work for this production will see me working at a much smaller scale than what you can see here with the foundations. So there's a lot of small scale details that are going to be added throughout this entire foundational structure in order for it to become the immersive and descriptive world that it needs to become. It's a good thing I'm gonna have extra sets of hands to support me with that part of the production, because that's going to be a whole thing. But I must say, it's been a really lovely and heartening thing to see this space fill up so quickly since I first moved in here. It really was a deeply daunting prospect, building out the foundations of the place. But it's gone from 0 to 30, 40 cubic meters of cardboard pretty quickly. And with each significant step I make on this production, it's becoming increasingly real to me that before long, I'm gonna have this substantial world that I'll be able to embed my music soundtracks within for all kinds of new audiences to experience and enjoy. I hope. I'm also aware there's just so much more to do. There's the visual fine detailing of all of the cardboard foundations to build, and that's going to take way longer than the foundations took. There's also the lighting, the sensors, the moving parts, but above all else, there's the music soundtrack. And now that we're settled in here nicely, with good solid progress made on the physical build so far, I think that's exactly what I need to focus on next. It is the beating heart of the project after all. And my arms are killing me from all of the cutting and the gluing and the sorting and the lifting and the holding and the, you get the point. I desperately need to switch up my workflow for a little while, catch my breath. So please stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this episode, then it would be great if you would drop a like on the video down below, or even leave us a comment, because it'd be great to hear what you think about the journey of creating the Playce so far. And if you want to continue following this journey, and you haven't done so already, then maybe you could subscribe to the channel as well for all of the regular updates, as well as for some updates regarding some other things I've got coming through the pipeline soon as well. Mysterious. Thanks for watching, folks. Until next time. More than 1 ton. Oh my God, there's so many cars this today. Yeah, shut up. Oh.